Hello and welcome to video number 3. We're going to talk about how to expand and speed up your HTML pages. Now, let me talk about expanding first. If you have a single HTML page and somebody lands on your site after they've done a Google search, if they click on the backspace button and they land back on the Google search, that's considered a bounce. So preferably it's good to have multiple pages that are linked to each other. Now, I'm going to talk more about that in video number 10 and video number 9 and 10 in terms of site navigation and organizing your content and things like that. Because a lot of times we can have one HTML page, such as a sales letter, that is extremely long and the content is not broken up and people get annoyed because they can't find the content and so forth. But I'll talk more about that later on. But for now, I want to focus mainly on speeding up HTML pages. Now, there is no one-size-fits-all solution, and I want you to keep that in mind. Now, while there is no one-size-fits solution, that's why using these tools like Pingdom, GTmetrix, and Google allow you to see exactly what is wrong or what can be improved on your specific site. Now, I'm going to cover some of the general items and the general things that you can combat. And those are, number 1, cascade styling sheets. Cascade styling sheets, if you're not aware what they are, basically CSS files. They control often the design, the layout, and not necessarily design, but sometimes, but the layout of your website. So, for example, this site here could be using a cascade styling sheet to control the way that things are laid out, the way that this here looks, and so forth. So, CSS is a great way that a webmaster or web developer can program their website. Now, the only downside with CSS is that it can take up a lot of load time and things like that. So having external cascade styling sheets is definitely a plus. Now, if you're just getting started with websites and stuff like that, you're probably not going to want to learn how to program CSS because that's a programming language typically and does take time to learn. It's not something you can learn over the course of a couple days, unless, of course, you're a webmaster. So with that in mind, what I'd suggest you do is you find somebody who can basically optimize your cascade styling sheets or tweak them so that they load faster. You can go anywhere you want. I'd recommend this particular person if you go on Fiverr.com and you do a search for J. Hernandez C, and you'll find that he offers a gig, which is $5 only. A gig is basically a project or service that is offered on Fiverr.com. Now, it's only $5, so it's not a lot of money, but this guy basically will go in, look at your website, he'll optimize your site with CSS sprites. You don't need to get all into the technical jargon, but basically it'll help you speed things up. And that brings us to images. A lot of times, if you think about it, HTML pages have these big, gigantic images that are placed on the page. Or let's say, for example, that you upload an image and the image just happens to be, let me show you, for example, the image just so happens to be, let's say, 1000 by 1000 pixels. So that's the size of the image itself. But when somebody inserts it on to their page, they resize it on the HTML page and makes it so that it's a thumbnail. It's 150 by 150. Now, even if you resize it within the HTML editor, the size of the file is the same. So let's take, for example, this file here, which is 200 kilobytes. Now, that might not seem like a lot But you just got to keep in mind that the more images you have, the bigger the amount of files are going to have to be downloaded by your visitor. So being that you don't know what your visitor has in terms of they still have dial-up, do they still have a really slow internet speed? Because that could be the case. If that's the case and you have 10 images, that's already about 2 megabytes of files that they have to download before they can actually see your images, your page, and so forth. Because otherwise, what happens if they got a slow internet connection and they're trying to download 2 megabytes or even 4 megabytes of files, most likely that's going to take about 10 seconds or even more amounts of seconds and more amount of time just to load the page. So guess what? They're going to leave ticked off. They're going to get pissed off. They're going to leave. And then they're going to go to Google. That's considered a bounce. And then they go find another page. So that's why image optimization is one of the highest things, the top number 3 things that people tend to forget. So what I'd recommend that you do, you can either do this manually, or you can either get somebody to do it for you, or you can use other software programs that will go in, it'll optimize your images and so forth. But let me show you how to do it the manual way. Maybe you don't have a lot of money and you want to know how to do it yourself. If that's the case, let me show you how to do that now. So let's say, for example, this 234 kilobyte file. And we can see, if we right click and click on properties, we can see that it is 900 by 900. So let's say, for example, that I'm going to insert that into my HTML page and I want it to be about 150 by 150 size. So if that's the case, I might as well optimize it to that specific size. So if I right click, edit, and open with, let's say, paint.net. Paint.net is basically a free image editing tool. Okay, so what I need to do is simply go to image, resize, and as you can see, it's 900 by 900. But if I change it to, let's say, 150, and it changes it to 150, the resolution, as we can see, is 72, and we can always decrease that. But if we click on best quality, you can also see the different other types of qualities here. But if we click on OK, and then we click on save, you can actually change the qualities. Right now it's 95%, but if you decrease the quality, you can actually see how it kind of ruins the image. So you can play around with this until you get to a point where it looks clear, but it's not super duper clear. So that way we've narrowed the size down. And I click on save, go back over here, and you can see that I was able to decrease it from 234 kilobytes to about 4 kilobytes. That's a big difference just by doing this. So if you can imagine, 234 kilobytes times, let's say, 20 images is 4.5 megabytes. About roughly, not exact, but that's about how it is. Now I've narrowed it down to 4, and if I do that to all 20 images, guess what? It's only 80 kilobytes. That's like within less than 1 second, or even less, much less than a second. So as you can see, just optimizing your images can help load time. Now, let me go and show you some free tools that you can use to kind of optimize your images. There is a site that Yahoo provides. It's called Smushit. If you go to smushit.com/whysmushit.it and you click on uploader, you can actually choose the images that you want to smush. So all I have to do is click choose file, find the image to smush it, and it'll basically optimize the image. There are other programs out there like imageoptimizer.net, and there's a paid service called kraken.io/web interface. But if you go to kraken.io, this is a service that allows you to optimize images really, really fast. Now, they offer a free version. It says optimized images are available for download for 2 hours. So you can go ahead and upload these, get these optimized, and so forth. Now, if you want a private account, you can do that. It says pro users can access their images at any time. So you can have your own account. You can upload the images, just simply drag and drop. So instead of doing it manually, I could simply drag and drop the 20 images here, have it optimized, and be done and be ready to go. So if your time is valuable to you and you want to save time and you do have money to spend, then this is an option that you can take. Now, another thing that we often run into is video. A lot of times when you're hosting your own video, depending on the Flash player, I can't say this for every single Flash player out there, but depending on the video player itself, sometimes the videos will begin to play and load as the person loads the page. So if that's the case, you want to find a way to avoid loading them automatically. Now, it's a good way to host your videos on a third-party site and have people actually load it on a third-party site, because it's utilizing, like for example, Vimeo or even YouTube's video hosting servers. It's not utilizing your own server. And the reason why that can cause problems is because when you're loading video on your own web host, then when somebody lands on your page, they are loading the images, the CSS files, and the videos and everything else that are running on your server. But if you're running them on a third-party server like Vimeo Pro, then you're utilizing super fast, high-end speed video. The reason why I recommend Vimeo Pro is because it's super easy to use. You get tons and tons of space. You get about 1,000 gigabytes of space per year with unlimited HD quality plays. So no matter if somebody has a fast internet connection, they can actually watch HD quality videos. If they don't, they can turn HD off. And what I like about it is it's super easy to organize your videos. So even though Vimeo Pro is $199 a year, in essence, what I found is it actually saves you money versus actually using your own web hosting account. So that's just something that, a little tip that I've come across. You can also use YouTube. YouTube allows you to upload videos and embed them, but just keep in mind that if somebody finds your links, they can always embed it on their own site as well. So whatever you upload to YouTube is not necessarily technically yours once you've uploaded, and you allow the embed code to be embedded. Because what that allows is you're basically giving people rights to embed that video on your own website. So just keep that in mind. With Vimeo Pro, it's a lot more private. You can specify where you want things to be posted and viewed, in specifics in terms of the videos playing on certain websites. So security wise, it's a lot better, and loading wise, I'd say Vimeo Pro and YouTube are great as well. But Vimeo Pro allows you to run videos no matter how long they are. So if you go beyond the 15-minute limit on YouTube, that's fine. You can do that on Vimeo. So those are three major things. There are many, many other things that you can look at. You can look at GT metrics, the pingdom, suggestions, and go from that point. But what I would recommend focusing on in terms of the basics is CSS files, get those optimized, images, get those optimized, even videos, get those videos optimized. And you can always outsource this stuff by going to Fiverr, getting access to this particular person for CSS, or anyone else on Fiverr for that matter. Now let's talk about WordPress and how to speed it up in the next video.